During the Belle Epoque of 19th century France, there lived a faction of painters able to use chroma to create wondrous canvas worlds in which they left a piece of their soul, living art they could enter and manipulate at will. One of the most gifted among them was Aline, who married another painter, Renoir, teaching him of the dangers incurred from staying inside a canvas too long, as they risked losing themselves within the creation, unwilling to depart from this alternate reality to the detriment of their physical body in the real world, which would eventually wither and die. Forming the Desandre family, Aline birthed their first child Clair, who inherited their talent for painting, followed by a son, Verso, on February 22, 1879, who also had a talent for painting but preferred to play music, and finally their youngest child, Alicia, who lacked her siblings' skills and proved more partial to reading and writing. Uninterested in painting, Verso crafted only a single canvas world, which he populated with various creatures like the Grandis, Esquier, who was modeled after his stuffed toy, and the Gestrels, two of which were based on their family dogs, Manoko III and Noko. With Aline serving as head of the Painters' Council, her family was targeted by the rival writers faction, which likely had similar gifts like the ability to craft worlds through their art form. Escalating their conflict, the writers tricked Alicia into trusting them, possibly using her affinity for writing against her in order to burn the Desandre Manor on December 33, 1905, resulting in the death of Verso, who sacrificed his life to save his younger sister, though she still suffered facial burns as well as the loss of an eye and her voice. Overwhelmed by grief, Aline blamed Alicia for the death of her son, and could only find solace in Verso's painting, which still contained a part of his soul, spending more time inside the canvas, until one day she entered and refused to leave. To escape the pain of her loss, Aline populated the city of Lumiere with a number of humans, including characters based on Renoir, Verso, Clair, and Alicia, so she could live out the fantasy that her family was whole and happy once more. Yet she still resented Alicia, and so painted her with the same scars and wounds as her real daughter outside the canvas. Meanwhile, the rest of the Desandre family fell apart, as Renoir worried for his wife, Clair obsessed with war against the writers, and Alicia lived as a ghost, wallowing in guilt over Verso's death. Determined to preserve what remained of their family, Renoir planned to extract Aline from the painting and then destroy it, sacrificing the last shred of Verso's soul to ensure she could not return and continue to self-harm. However, when Renoir entered the canvas and attempted to execute the plan, his wife vehemently resisted to such an extent the world fractured, prompting Aline to break the continent, removing part of Lumiere to keep the population from danger. Though Renoir was able to imprison Aline at the top of a great monolith, he could not defeat her entirely as she was a stronger painter and controlled much of the world's chroma, and so she in turn trapped her husband beneath the monolith, creating a stalemate where neither could achieve a quick victory. At the center of the conflict, the monolith was surrounded by a heavy layer of chroma, which erased nearly anything or anyone that attempted to pass through. To act as her proxy, Aline created a large and small version of herself as an enigmatic paintress, while Renoir created the Curator as his avatar, as well as the Axons, possibly meant to keep large amounts of chroma from his wife and remind her of their real family, since each of these four enormous beings were based on the personality of a family member, with visages made for Verso, the Reacher for Alicia, the Hauler for Clair, and Serene for Aline. Wanting her family back in the real world so they could help fight the writers, Clair entered the canvas to help Renoir by painting the Nevrons, violent creatures able to kill humans and trap their chroma within their bodies to ensure it did not return to Aline, thereby slowly diminishing her power. While inside the canvas world, Clair was horrified to learn her mother created a painted version of her, and so remade the character into a Nevron factory, producing more of these creatures to help defeat her mother. As his wife gradually weakened and was unable to collect sufficient chroma to protect everyone in the canvas, Renoir took advantage and erased her oldest creations, starting with those 100 years or older. And so Aline used her remaining strength to make her painted family immortal, and through her giantess proxy, painted 100 on the monolith, as a warning to the population of Lumiere that she could only save those younger than the age displayed. Losing more of her power over time, Renoir eliminated more of her creations, and so every year the number painted on the monolith was erased and lowered by 1. Back in Lumiere, the human population was ignorant of the larger game being played, as well as the nature of their reality and origins, knowing only that after their world fractured, a giant paintress started writing numbers on a faraway monolith to represent the age at which the people in their city perished. Naming this event the Gommage, the population grew to hate the paintress, believing she was responsible for their untimely deaths. Not long after the fracture, the people of Lumiere organized Expedition Zero, the first mission where a group of volunteers sailed to the mainland, originally tasked to learn about what happened, while rescuing those left behind when the continent broke apart. Leading Expedition Zero was the painted version of Renoir, while his son, Painted Verso, also joined the crew, as neither had any idea what happened or their true identities, and simply wanted to find Aline, who had been missing since the fracture. Although Expedition Zero made it all the way to the barrier at the monolith, they were confronted by real Clair, who revealed the truth about the situation, that they were all creations of the paintress who battled against her husband for control of the canvas. When they refused to go home and not interfere, Clair destroyed almost all of them, but could not harm Painted Renoir and Verso as the paintress made them immortal. Shocked and dismayed, Painted Renoir and Verso returned to Lumiere, where they tried to explain the truth to the rest of the population, but many struggled to believe it and grew suspicious, as they were the only known survivors of Expedition Zero. A group even restrained and interrogated Painted Verso during a search and rescue mission to the continent, prompting Painted Renoir to attack and rescue his son, resulting in the death of Verso's friend Julie and the others. These events changed both father and son, as Painted Renoir no longer sought to explain anything, and instead took Painted Alicia to their manor on the continent, where he focused on protecting his wife and their reality for as long as possible, while Painted Verso was heartbroken over the death of his friend Julie, and so betrayed his father, remaining neutral for a time and refusing to help defend the paintress. As it so happened, one other member of Expedition Zero survived, and that was Simon, the romantic partner of Painted Clair, who was discovered by real Clair and tricked into accepting a mission on her behalf. Posing as her painted counterpart, Clair won Simon's trust and gave him special powers, which allowed him to defeat the Hauler Axon and pierce the barrier, with the goal of defeating the paintress so Aline would leave the canvas. Yet once Simon reached the paintress, she revealed the truth about Clair and Renoir trying to destroy their world, but also lied to him, promising to help save Painted Clair if he changed sides, though that was not actually possible. Nevertheless, he believed her and attempted to defeat the real Renoir trapped under the monolith, only to be overwhelmed by the enemy's power and lose his mind, becoming a guardian and servant of Aline's husband. A special thanks to all those who contribute to Civilization X, like Pete J. King, Daedry Dragonswit, Delacruz the Freed, and Barian the Soft Bastard Beesbury. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/civilizationx, where you can gain early access to videos and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.